This is the Lowco FC podcast. Here are your hosts, Kerr and Misael Garzon.
Hey, Lowco sports fans, welcome to the first episode of Lowco FC, second season here for the 2023 school year. I'm Kerr, joined as always by Misael Garzon. And Misa, it is springtime. We just turned the clocks forward. That means it is soccer season again here in the Lowco. How are you feeling, and how much have you enjoyed what you've seen so far on the soccer pitch?
Yeah, man, I am glad to be back for season 2. We made it through 2 seasons, so we must be doing something right. But definitely excited to get back into things here in the spring for soccer season. As you know, a lot of talent in the low country when it comes to soccer for the boys inside. And so far, it's been a pretty solid preseason. Early season, we've seen some good things from a lot of teams. Also seeing a lot more teams in our area as well that have soccer programs. So I'm excited for what's to come this year.
Yeah, and it's cool that we've been able to expand our coverage for the winter and the fall sports seasons. We've been talking about Hampton County teams, and we've seen some solid output from them as well as they begin their soccer seasons. But great to expand our coverage, and now we get to talk about them in the spring sports season, which is kind of fun. But soccer season well underway for most of our Lowco teams at this point, as we are in a week into March as we get closer to region play. So a lot of non-region action, a lot of tournament action so far. So a lot of these teams have been busy. Of course, you're coaching the Mary River boys soccer team, and let's just first start with you guys and how the season's been going so far for your Sharks.
Yeah, it's been pretty good. We have a good amount of returning players. This is probably the toughest non-region schedule I have had in my time here at Mary River High School. We're 3-4 right now. We went up to the Upstate last week to play Catawba Ridge, who was preseason number 3 in the Upstate in 4A, just to kind of test our mettle. And also played Fort Mill, who's also a top 10 5A school. I'm like what I'm seeing from our players. We're growing. We have some key new pieces. Goalie, our striker, they're new. Midfield is kind of returning from what it was last year, but it's mostly juniors and sophomores. And then a senior laden back line, which also helps to kind of create the balance that we're looking for this year. But it's been good. It's been tough, but I'd rather play tough games and have our boys get the experience to get ready for region play, which is, we do have the defending lower state, finalists last year and then state champions 2 years ago in James Island. It's always a tough region with Hilton Head, Bluffton, Lucy Beckham as well. So I think hopefully our tough non-region schedule will show us what we need to do to be able to be more competitive in a region and hopefully win a region this year.
You guys had a great run back in 2022. You went 8-4 region play, and then you ended up taking it over to Myrtle Beach. You won your first round playoff game, nearly took down the Myrtle Beach Seahawks. I just remember that sensational highlight reel goal there to tie it late. Unfortunately, you guys lost it in extra time, but a lot to build on from that run, and a lot of guys returning from last year's team. But just reflect on that experience and how that's going to help push you guys in the right direction as you get into region play here this season.
Yeah, we're definitely hungry. We're kind of tired of going to Myrtle Beach, finishing second in region, so we always have to go up there earlier than we'd like. So, our goal this year is to compete for a region championship. We finished second last year. We were able to defeat James Island 1-0 at home. And then, we were able to just finish one game behind them. So it shows that we're definitely coming along. And then returning so many players as we have and young players at that, they're getting the experience and they're getting that bad taste in their mouth from losing in the second round so close, to winning, that, we're building on that. And that's part of why I did such a tough non-region schedule, is because I wanted us to be mentally and physically prepared for what is to come, which is always a tough and competitive region, so no better way to prepare than, iron sharpening iron. That's kind of the mantra we went into. And hopefully this week when we start region play across the state and the Lowcountry, hopefully we get to see the early results.
Yeah, scheduling some tough games. We've seen that throughout all of our sports, and the benefits of that, of scheduling difficult matchups and finding ways to see your guys improve throughout the course of the season, especially early on. We've seen that paying dividends so much, especially for Hilton Head Christian Academy girls win that state title and all that experience of playing those top teams, how much that helps them. And really, you can go to any sport and kind of see the fruits of that. And you guys have been adamant in scheduling up and scheduling tough matchups, as evidenced by those Catawba Ridge and Fort Mill matchups. But then you come back home and you beat Buford in a really hard-fought win, 4-3. Just tell me about the Sharks' performance and the thrilling game that it was.
Yeah, no, we had a strong first 15, 20 minutes. We went up 3-0 early. We kind of did a few things different than what we had shown Buford in our preseason scrimmage and kind of what we had done throughout the season. Just some things to kind of better utilize our personnel. And we started off really well. And then, of course, Buford is a very tough team. They're preseason top 10 in 3A for a reason. I think they're going to be a lower state contender in 3A. And they showed that coming back and, 3-2. Then we went up 4-2, then 4-3, and, finally able to hold off. But last year, they beat us at our place at the end of the season, to kind of make a little magical playoff run at the end. So we knew it was going to be tough, but it was a good tune-up for us to be able to see a team of that caliber and for us to have a big lead, kind of relinquish that lead, and then be able to hold on. I think that'll go far in the regular season, especially in region. And like I said, Buford's a tough squad. They're going to have a tough region slate again this week as well, which we'll talk a little bit later. So it was kind of fun. Always good to play against Buford, my old school, and Coach Rollins was my mentor. So it's always fun. Those games are always going to be competitive and close.
Yeah, of course, no longer a region matchup.
Mm-hmm.
You guys were in the region, same region as Buford these last few years, but Buford moving down to 3A, and so still nice to have those matchups between these local schools, even though they're not region play games anymore, but still an opportunity to to have that rivalry, which is still there. I mean, you play a team from Lowco, I mean, you have that sense where you want to come out on top. It's a local rivalry, so you see that competitive juices flowing really in every sport, and especially on the soccer field. And these roots run deep here. I mean, a lot of these soccer players, they know each other. They grew up playing on maybe some club teams or just known each other from their times on the soccer field together. So a lot of rivalries between these schools, and you definitely see that come into play when you get to those region matchups, or in this case, some non-region matchups too. So that's a hard-fought win for these May River Sharks, 4-3 over Buford, and now region play gets started on Tuesday against James Island, and what's looking like a marquee matchup on the calendar.
Yeah, it's kind of tough to start your first region game against the defending two-time region champions. But for us, it's a challenge that we're willing to accept. It kind of helps us get an early view of what the region looks like. James Island looks to be strong again this year. They just recently lost to Stratford Friday night, but they also have had a good early season slate. And it's always a physical, tough matchup between both teams, right? Both programs want to be the best. Both programs want to make a run for state championship. So you're going to see that quality and that caliber of play out there. We get them at home first, so that kind of helps us with some hope of advantage. But it's going to be a very tough matchup. And again, we don't have a say so on how our region schedule starts up, but we start with the best. In order to be the best, you got to beat the best. So we have no problem, taking that challenge on early on in our region.
Yeah, I mean, sometimes there's benefits of having the tough schedule front load and back load in some cases, but it gives you a sense that litmus test of where our guys, where do we want them to be at the end of the year, and no better test than going up against what's looking like one of the best teams in 7-4A, which appears to be a very competitive region again this year, and you'll get that test right out of the gate. And I'm going to have to have a tough choice in which game I'm going to go to on Tuesday night and Friday night. There's a ton of games in the Lowco this week. So the problem is when sometimes you have girls and boys games at different sites, so you gotta pick and choose which ones you go to in soccer. So going to be a tough decision to where I end up for these next few games, because it's definitely gonna get busy this week with region play underway. So I'm really excited. We're getting full fledged into the meat of the schedule here in this Lowco soccer season and spring sports in general. So I cannot wait. It's going to be a fun week of Lowcountry soccer. Let's kick it around. Let's talk about some other teams, some other squads that have impressed you so far. Let's stick around this region. Maybe some teams under the radar, like a Bluffton, like a Colleton County, that have impressed you so far.
Yeah, Bluffton has also taken a route of scheduling some tough early season matchups. They went up to Wando to start the season last week, Tuesday night, had a very tough game there against what's always a traditionally strong powerhouse in Wando. But then they went to North Augusta, who last year was a lower state champion. Now, for those of you who may not know, North Augusta's region is now in the upper state. They flip-flop with the Columbia region in 4A. So now they're in the upper state. They were preseason top 5, I believe, if I'm not mistaken. And they went up there on the road and got a big penalty shootout win. It was 2-2 in regulation. They went into penalty shootout, and Bluffton got a big win. So it's very good for them. And then, they recently played JP2 and Coach Fox. Is always a difficult game with them, with Coach Fox, the former Bluffton coach, coming back to the den. with his current squad at John Paul, and they gutted out a 3-2 win. Very tough team. So I think that Bluffton has looked very impressive. They're 3-1 right now, so they're going to be in the thick of things in Region 7 4A. You mentioned Carleton County as well. They've had a pretty good start to the season. Now, Carleton County is a young team. They were very young last year. They're younger again this year, but there is talent there, and you're kind of seeing it in the results. Unfortunately for them, they're in such a tough region in 4A that once they get into region play, it's going to be tougher. But they've had some very good results that you normally don't see from them early in the season. So kudos to that staff over there and the players. Last year, there was a freshman. Their freshman player was very good. I think he's back this year, and just kind of seeing the results, just looking very well on the boys' side. Hilton Head, they had a very tough scrimmage against West Ashley. They haven't had many games since then, but they played well against a solid 5A West Ashley squad. And they're young as well, but going to be pretty solid. And it just shows that, once again, Region 7 4A on the boys' side is going to be very difficult. And then you have Buford, which you spoke about earlier in 3A. They're in a new region. They're in a new classification. You've seen the success that their other sports have had. And it's not by coincidence. They are very, very good athletic program, and you're seeing it across the board. And it should be no different in boys and girls soccer. For the boys, they face off this week against Philip Simmons, who's a top 10 3A school as well.
Yeah,
And
that's a top 10 matchup.
Yep, it is a top 10 matchup. Yep. And so, and the way their region does it, they play Tuesday night, I think, at Buford or at Philip Simmons, and then they turn around and play them Friday again. So they don't play them again for the rest of the region uh, until that's it. They play them this week, and that's it. So that's kind of good because you kind of have two top 10 teams facing off early, but it's kind of bad because if you have a bad week, you don't get to see them again, and it could really affect your standings in the region.
If you go 0-2, that's going to be, I mean, it's going to be a very, very tough task to, get back up to the top of the region. I mean, if you get swept by this Philip Simmons team, it may, strike out those chances of winning the region. So, so important those first two games. If you can take one of them, that could be huge going forward. Stay in contention. But I mean, even if you do drop both of those games, I mean, find ways to that you feel like you'll get better. And that's we talked about the benefits of front loading versus benefits of back loading. When you have the tough matchups front loaded, it gives you the opportunity to grow and then be able to take what you've learned against the weaker teams and be able to have success against them. Or on the other hand, if it's backloaded, maybe it'll save you for when maybe you're peaking at the right time. So it kind of can go both ways in terms of scheduling. That's one thing you can't control. You can't control when you play those teams. You can't control the schedule. You only can play the teams in front of you on your schedule.
Absolutely.
And so that's the challenge for this Buford team. But I'm excited. A 9 versus 4 matchup, as I said. So great to see a top 10 clash in this class today, twice in 1 week, which is pretty fun for us reporters and writers, and see a home and home series like that. So that's definitely kind of fun there for Buford. And speaking of the rankings, how about the Class 4A girls dominated by Region 7 4A? Got James Island at number 1, Lucy Beckham at number 3, and Hilton Head High at number 7. So that's 3 teams in the same region in the top 7, which is just absolutely crazy to think that all of those teams are going to be playing in the same region.
Yeah, and we should not be surprised. I mean, let's look at last year. 3 of the 4 teams in the lower state semifinals were coming from Region 7, and then you had a Region 7 on Region 7 matchup in one end, and then you saw a lower state final matchup as well with 2 Region 7 teams. So it's no surprise there. But we've seen that James Island looks to be traditionally strong. They beat Wando last week in a matchup there against 2 very top girls programs in the state. Lucy Beckham has also had a strong preseason start. They actually played our May River girls in a preseason tournament in Charleston. They won that 5-1. And then they went to the Viking Cup, which is a very prestigious girls preseason tournament that is held in Columbia in Spring Valley High School. And they came out champions of that. So it looks like, once again, this region is going to be up for grabs. Hilton Head suffered a very shocking upset, at least in my book, when they lost to Quinn Wilson and the Buford Lady Eagles a few weeks ago in the penalty shootout. Of course, 0-0 draw. You go into penalty shootouts, anything can happen. And Buford got a big non-region upset. And then you also see Bluffton girls, right? They won the Michael C. Nash tournament in Myrtle Beach. They've had a very strong, solid preseason. They've also scheduled some tough matchups as well. And they've had a pretty good preseason schedule as well to get some tough matches because it's a tough region. May River as well in the girls Charleston tournament. They did very well there. They've also had some pretty tough matches. They have a new varsity coach this year, so we're curious to see how that goes. And they're also a predominantly young team, but they've shown some early results and some early grit here so far in the offseason. So it looks like the Region 7 4A girls, it's not going to get any easier, right? If you look at the rankings, James Allen and Lucy Beckham are the clear favorites. You got Hilton Head trailing at number 7, but I think it's going to be a lot tougher than what it was the last few years for this whole region as a whole, in terms of who's going to get those 4 playoff spots. And region seeding matters for home throughout the playoffs. So who's it going to be? So you have 5 very solid teams competing for 4 spots. It's going to be very fun and grinding out. And of course, we start Tuesday with James Allen girls versus May River. Then you have Bluffton versus Lucy Beckham on the boys and girls side, which could determine later on who makes the playoffs and who doesn't. So it's gonna be a very fun region to watch with the girls.
Right. There's going to be a really, really good team that's going to miss the playoffs in that
Mm-hmm.
region, which is, it's tough, but just goes to show how challenging competitive it is across the board in 7-4A. I cannot wait to see some of these games live starting this week. We get right into it with a bunch of big time matchups in girls 7-4A. We'll run you through those a little later in the show, but I cannot be more excited for what we're going to see on that side of things. Girls soccer has historically been so competitive throughout the Low Country. It used to be dominated by Hilton Head like a decade ago when Murray Swosey was winning with those Hilton High teams. I got to be a part of many years ago, and that was just a heck of a run that they had, winning at one point 4 in a row of 3A state titles when they were in Class 3A. But the power shifted a little bit. I mean, we've seen some other squads, rise to the top of this area here in local girls soccer in the South Carolina High School League. Oh, you mentioned Buford. What a win that was for Hilton High. A huge upset early on this year. Of course, not in region play already, but still, that's a statement win for Buford, and that just speaks to the talent in net from Quinn Wilson. When you have a dominant goalie like that who can make a difference and keep it scoreless like that, to force penalty kicks, what an amazing asset that is to your team.
Yeah, and that's going to come in key in 3A now. I'm pretty sure Buford is not missing 7-4A, not being in Region 7-4A. They're now down in 3A. And they'll have Philip Simmons, Battery Creek, who's also having a very good start to the season, the Battery Creek girls. And they're going to be in the tough region as well. But having the assurance that you have a goalkeeper who's a game changer, and that even if you're struggling offensively, that you have her back there. She's going to Georgia Southern next year as a soccer commit. Having that assurance is going to help them a lot. And don't be surprised if they make a deep playoff run as well in 3A. Getting a big win against Hilton Head at home, and then having a good tough match against Bluffton. I think they lost 2-0 that matchup as well a few days ago. These are season tests against season squads that's going to help them in their run in 3A region. And so don't be surprised if Buford is making a deep run for girls in playoff as well. And as long as Quinn Wilson is in goal, you can rest assured they're going to be in every game no matter who they're playing.
Yeah, you're never going to count them out, and it certainly has the makeup of a team that is built for a long postseason run, especially with that dominant goalie and Quinn Wilson and a bunch of scrappy players in the Buford team. And the championship culture. I mean, you can say it on both the boys and girls side, but they've built it over there. Of course, the football team really set the tone, and you always say football season, that sets the mark for the rest of the year, and the athletic program, and it's true. And I think it rubbed off the basketball team, both these basketball teams, because Reggie Jones doing some great work on the girls side, and then the boys basketball team making a nice run to the Elite Eight in Class 3A as well. I got to witness that run. That was really cool. Michael Dennison just had a tremendous season, and that championship culture rubs off on every program here. Of course, Colton Ferris winning the individual wrestling title. So there's a lot of good things going on at Buford High, and you look at some of the other programs they have, like boys tennis, who's been dominant these last few years. It's definitely a thing, and I expect this Buford High boys soccer and girls soccer team compete, and it was really cool to see. Wayne Quinlan, got to see him in his return to Hilton Head, where he coached for so many years. He won a state championship there, and that was a really you know, memorable moment for me to see him back on those sidelines, got a nice welcome back, standing ovation. And that was really what sparked that Buford boys team to make a nice run. Unfortunately, it ended a little earlier than they wanted, but still a great story. And I think the same can be said for this girls team because man, they've got that instinctful leader in Quinn Wilson and a bunch of other players who I think are really going to feed off their tremendous goalie. So definitely look for Buford to be a sleeper in Class 3A and a region title contender over there. So excited for both those Buford teams and a lot of excitement around this Bluffton girls team as well. A nice start for them. They beat Sockasty, they beat St. James in a tournament back mid February, and then they got a nice win over Somerville and overtime 3-2. They also shut out Buford 2-0. So and also competitive match against Dutch for 2-1 in extra time as well. So Bluffton, the team that was right there in region play, just kind of fizzled out at the end, but certainly they're looking like a dark horse contender as well.
Yeah, last year, injuries plagued them, lack of depth plagued them towards the end, where they were just burned out and couldn't keep up. And again, when you're in a tough region as you are in Region 7-4A, that does come into effect later on in the season, as we saw with the girls. But they're off to a solid start, like you said, beating St. James and Saucasy. Those are very good 5A girls programs. Getting a big win against Somerville last week as well. Like I said, they're also playing tough non-region opponents to help them get ready for what is probably for me one of the toughest soccer regions in the state. Boys or girls doesn't matter, right? Region 7-4A on girls is very tough, and I think they're going to do very good this year. And it's going to be very fun to watch, at least for me as a spectator on the girls' side, to see how that region plays out because you have Hilton Head, you have May River, who are going to be very competitive. Last year, those games were competitive. There wasn't really many blowouts between those three teams, and it kind of came down to the wire of who was going to be what in terms of rankings for playoffs. So it'll be fun to watch, and I think it'll be exciting. It'll just kind of show the continued growth of the sport on the girls' side and girls' soccer, especially like you said. Hilton Head was a powerhouse for years. That's kind of shifted now. There was a period where Bluffton was very competitive, also on the girls' side, kind of. And now we're seeing three very competitive programs in our area in 4A in the toughest region that are going to be duking out and beating each other up and hoping that somebody knocks off the champion James Island and kind of gets in the playoffs and make a deep playoff run.
Yeah, it's definitely balanced, and I could see any one of those teams being that group that does it. I mean, whether it's Bluffton, whether it's Hilton Head, whether it's May River, they've all got talent, and the difference between the ability of those squads is very thin. Even you look at like James Island and Lucy Beckham, you can definitely see one of those other region teams because the iron sharpens iron mentality. Playing all these teams twice each year, they're gonna know what it takes to go up to that level. And when you get to the playoffs, when you get to, against those Region 6, Region 5 teams, you're gonna have the leg up on some of those other guys because you've played those Lucy Beckhams and James Allen's multiple times. So you kind of know what you got to do to perform well against good teams. So I think that approach, because of that, you see about throughout a bunch of other sports as well. When you have that dominant region, but I think even more so here with this girls soccer look of how things are going to be this year. I expect all of these teams, if you could get in the playoffs, those top four, you're going to have a shot to go deep, and I think that's going to hold true for any of them. So it's going to be a fantastic battle to see who gets in, who wins this region. I gotta think James Island is the favorite. Lucy Beckham certainly another team that's going to be in the mix as well. And then you got some dark horses at Bluffton Hilton. They can click and get hot at the right time. Who knows? So I cannot wait. It's going to be a fantastic battle there in both these boys and girls regions. But going down to some of these other South Carolina High School League teams, we mentioned Buford. I think the boys are going to be in the conversation. I think the Philip Simmons matchups are going to be very telling of how well they will fare in this region. And then those Buford girls, do not sleep on Quinn Wilson and those Eagles. But we got some other teams in the high school league starting off as well. We got Ridgeland off to a solid start. Bridges Prep ranked in the top 10 in Class 1A. And so we've got a bunch of other teams in the South Carolina High School League that have been busy on the soccer pitch as well. Who are some of the other squads that have caught your eye so far?
Yeah, Richmond boys are off to a 2-0 start. They played Wade Hampton this past week in the region. They also have a similar region matchup where they play the same team in the same week and get the home at home, and they went off 2-0. So they're off to a very solid start in their region, and they should make some noise in what is now a very tough 2A boys side. And the girls, you have Bishop England there, you have Oceanside, you have Great Collegiate up in Columbia, you have Academic Magnet, which are traditional soccer powerhouses. So they should be making some noise there. Like you said, Battery Creek girls are also off to a great start as well. You have Bridges Prep, which is off to a very, very start. They've had some good, tough wins in this early season going against bigger schools, and I think they're going to make some noise in 1A as well. Royal Live Oaks has had a good week, 2 wins last week as well. They're also in 1A. And then we have some new schools in the area. You have Polaris Tech, who has a brand new co-ed soccer program. So they're coming into the fold. I believe they're in 1A as well. So it looks very good. Well Branch boys and girls, Well Branch girls last year had a very good season. They're going to look to build off of that as well. And they hosted that preseason tournament that they do every day at Well Branch in February. So I think it just speaks to the growth of soccer in the areas we've talked about since we started the podcast. And this is just the public schools, right? We haven't even gotten to the private schools yet, and what we've seen so far in the preseason and the early season from the private schools. But just seeing an overall growth and competitiveness from the public schools against other schools is only going to help make the sport grow here and the talent get better down here in this area.
Yeah, and once again, we're all same time. We're all in the same boat. The tides lift all boats. The rising tides lift all boats. That's what I was trying to think about. But yeah, the saying holds true because when you play against each other, the ability to get that competition, it just lifts the ability of everybody. So we love seeing those local and local matchups, and just the growth of soccer in South Carolina, especially in the Low Country, has been flying higher and higher by leaps and bounds. And it seems like year in and year out, we continue to see just more interest in the game and more young people playing the sport of soccer, which is great. And it all starts at the youth level, and we have some great youth programs as well that eventually build that pipeline to the high school game. And now we're seeing the fruits of that pay off. 10 years back, where we're really started to see a growth in terms of soccer. It's continuing to grow, but now we especially see the results at the high school level. And just looking back at these last few years that you've been in May River, how much have you seen yourself the growth of boys and girls high school soccer here at May River, but also in the Low Country in general?
Just overall, it's getting better. Like you said, it's credit to having very good youth clubs and youth development in the area that have helped immensely the growth of soccer and the talent level that we have. When you have so many programs with decent quality squads, it tells you how much depth there is talent wise here in the Low Country. So it's in my personally at May River High School, every year we have over 70, 80 kids trying out for soccer, and we're in the South in the football school, traditionally football school, but I've always said we're the soccer school. And so that you see that, and it's not just having a bunch of kids trying out, but it's also seeing the quality of players. There's players that play on our JV team that could very well be varsity players in other schools in the area. There's players that we've cut that could make a team somewhere else, and just speaks to the amount of talent that we have. And it's not just at Mirror, but you see all the other schools. Like I said, Hilton Head's young this year. They got some very good young talent. Bluffton has some good young players coming up as well. The middle school programs are becoming more competitive and more successful. The JV programs are becoming more competitive. We host a JV tournament every preseason for the last 2 years, and we've had teams like Wando and Oceanside and Stratford come down to play, and it's been quality matchups where our local teams have been competitive with Charleston teams, where Charleston is a bigger area and tends to have a bigger pool of talent when it comes to soccer because of the level that they have over there. But here you see it in our younger age group, you see it in our rec program. We have competitive rec programs who are playing in all-star games, competing for state champions in the rec level. You see it on the club scene where you have club teams that are being invited to regional events, winning their leagues, going to the playoffs. You see players getting called up, players that are getting recruited by colleges more and more each year. And I think it's going to continue to grow just because as you said, the rising tide lifts all boats. The same can be said on soccer, right? Whether you're playing club in high school or middle school soccer, the amount of talent you have is going to elevate the overall quality of soccer in the area where we can be competitive with the Charlestons and Columbians and the Greenvilles and the Rock Hills, where you have such, rich talent of soccer in those specific areas. You're seeing our teams out there competing. You're seeing the Bluffton girls going up to Myrtle Beach and winning a tournament in Myrtle Beach against Myrtle Beach teams. You're seeing our smaller schools competing and winning games against other programs in more predominant soccer areas. So I think it's going to continue growing and growing each year. Eventually, we want to get to the point where it's not just a Hilton Head High boys or Hilton Head High girls winning a state championship, or River boys winning a state championship there, but that you're always in the conversation for state championships. And that's where we want to get overall for our boys and girls in the high school league and also in our independent schools.
Yeah, the sustained success, and we've seen that throughout a number of our teams here, both in high school league and Skiza. And let's shift our focus to Skiza soccer now, because we have, of course, the defending state champion in Hilton Head Christian Academy girls who won I believe their second in a row last year. And then you look at JP2 boys that came very close to winning one. Hilton Head Christian Academy boys also another solid year. Off to a little bit of a slow start, but still going to have a lot of talent that's going to grow throughout these next few weeks. So we've got a lot of very, very strong Skiza teams here, and several that I think could be in line for some big seasons.
Yeah, no, Christian Academy girls look like they're going to be very strong this year. I got to see them a little bit when they scrimmaged Mirror River in the preseason for about a half, and it looked solid as well. And like you said, we also have the BA girls who just tied Battery Creek last week, I believe, in a regular season matchup. BA boys have also been on the up and up coming as well with what Coach Leslie is doing over there. JP2 and Coach Fox, last year they beat some public schools. This year, they're once again scheduling public schools to kind of get them ready for the playoff run because skis or soccer, believe it or not, on the boys' side is very competitive as well. You do have some very good and very tough teams throughout the state that can make it difficult. But as you said, our girls don't have prep girls this year, don't have prep boys this year. Prep boys are off to a slow start, but they're up and building as well. And I think it's going to be even more competitive where we might see more playoff teams. And we might see more competitive matches where you might see some more local on local matchups to fight for a state championship spot, as we have seen in other sports here in the Low Country from our ski schools.
Right, and the opportunity now with the realignment with four classifications, we
Mm-hmm.
saw in basketball season a lot more of our low country teams got a chance to compete for state titles with the extra classification added. So I expect the same results to happen here in boys and girls soccer. In the Hilton Head Christian Academy girls, dominance they have showed. And I think a lot of that, I mean, you got the championship culture on the basketball side with Devin Yard and Nemi Peduzzi, who just picked up yet another fifth in a row basketball state title on the girls' side. And Abby, now a senior, her leadership skills are just off the charts amazing. And, she's going to bring that same mentality now to the soccer field to cap off just a legendary career over there at HHGA. So I expect HHGA's girls to once again be in that conversation. And what do you expect to see from this JP2 boys team? We have some strong returners like Tony Hill, who's a big time goal scorer last year. Do you expect them to make another run this year?
I think so. I think they're going to pick up where they left off last year and kind of have that bitter taste in their mouth that they want to go further than where they went last year, and they want to be able to win it all. I think they have enough talent, as you've seen. Coach Fox hasn't shied away from strategically playing games against some of the public schools in our area, to even out of our area. They beat Irmo last year. Up at Irmo in a good non-region win for them to kind of get the team ready. Like you said, it speaks to you having to play tough matchups to be ready for that playoff run, right? You can sit here and schedule a bunch of easy games and have the great stats and the accolades and look at us for winning games, but it changes once you go into the playoff, especially schools from other areas that don't play the same style you do, that may not have the same type of players that you have here or see the same type of teams that you see here. So I think diversifying yourself is important. I think we're seeing more of our private schools in the area kind of getting away from just playing skeezer schools and just playing independent schools and kind of treading their feet in public school waters to see how they match up against the Battery Creeks, against the Blufftons, the Beauforts, the May Rivers, the Hilton Heads of the region, because that's going to make them better, and so kudos to the programs that are out there scheduling games. When you see games like Christian Academy girls versus May River girls, when you see BA girls versus Battery Creek girls, those are the type of matches you want because those are going to only help to get better. And make those teams better. And I think for Skiza as well, as the competition gets tougher, because especially in the 3A, 4A, and Skiza, you have some very tough teams from the Columbia area, from the Greenville area, that you can't just sit here and play cupcakes, for lack of a better term, to be ready for them. So I think JP2 and Coach Fox are going to make a deep run again. I wouldn't be surprised if at the end of the day they're playing in the last game of the regular season for a state championship because he does have the talent. The coaching is there. They played very well against the Bluffton squad. Fighting through until the very end, and that's only going to help them when it comes to region play and then hopefully a deep playoff run.
Those challenging early season games are going to pay dividends absolutely as we get later in the year and towards the postseason where it matters the most. So a lot to look forward to on the Skeeza side. We're going to take a quick break here from our sponsors. I'll be right back to talk about some players to watch here for the 2023 high school soccer season and look ahead to this week's matches here on Lowco FC.
Hey Lowco sports fans, this podcast and all of our grassroots local sports content are made possible by support from community sponsors, including Mickelson Law Firm, the official real estate attorneys of Lowco Sports, and the presenting sponsor of our Hilton Head Christian Academy coverage. Our original sponsors are still among our greatest supporters. Ryan and Tiffany Mickelson are community pillars who will be in your corner no matter your legal needs. When you need legal representation, call on the attorneys who support Team Lowco. Call Mickelson Law Firm. Hospice Care of the Lowcountry, the official hospice provider of Lowco Sports, and the only not-for-profit hospice in southern Beaufort County. For more than 30 years, the committed, compassionate staff at Hospice Care of the Lowcountry have been there to ensure your loved ones find comfort, honor, and dignity at the end of life. Because at Hospice Care of the Lowcountry, it's not about dying, it's about living. Homegrown Home Inspections, the official home inspectors of Lowco Sports. Jan Lucas and his team provide thorough, detailed home inspections aimed to ensure everyone goes into the transaction with open eyes and confidence. Jan would rather reveal an inconvenient truth than look the other way and provide reassurances that could come back to burn the buyer in the long run. If you're looking to buy or sell a home and need an honest, reliable inspector, call on Homegrown Home Inspections, official sponsors of Lowco Sports. DDS Web Design, official SEO experts of Lowco Sports. If your business or organization has a website and you're trying to figure out what SEO is, you need to call on Denise and Dave Sinkovich at DDS Web Design. They'll provide a free consultation and do all the behind-the-scenes work to boost your search engine optimization and get your website found online so you can take your business to the next level. DDS Web Design, official SEO experts of Lowco Sports. American Wood Reface, sustaining sponsors of Lowco Sports. Does your kitchen need a facelift? Before you start picking out new cabinets, give Ben and the team at American Wood Reface a shot. They can reface your existing cabinets to overhaul your aesthetic without the hefty price tag and reimagine your kitchen at a price point you can manage. Be sure to tell them Lowco sent you because every referral helps support Lowco Sports. 4M Metals, sustaining sponsor of Lowco Sports. Got metal? Your roof might need it. Metal roofing advantages include better energy efficiency, weather protection, longevity, a more aesthetically pleasing design, and the product is all green. So if you've been thinking about a new roof, go metal. Let 4M Metals be the difference in your roof. Jay's Barbershop. It's the talk of the town and the place to be in Ridgeland. If you need your ears lowered, head over to Jay's for a fresh cut and great conversation with good folks. And tell them Lowco sent you. Local Pie, official pizza sponsor of Lowco Sports. They sling some of the best pies in the Lowco, and my kids say the mac and cheese is the best around. Hungry? Hit up Local Pie, longtime supporter of Lowco Sports. Barefoot Floor Care of the Lowcountry, the official floor cleaners of LowcoSports.com. If your feet tell you your floors need cleaning, call on Barefoot Floor Care of the Lowcountry. They provide residential and commercial services, including cleaning carpet and area rugs, tile and grout, upholstery, curtains and drapes, mattresses, and more. But most importantly, they'll get those floors so clean, your feet will thank them. Barefoot Floor Care of the Lowcountry. Hilton Head Prep is a sustaining sponsor of Lowco Sports, and we tell you all about the Dolphins' athletic exploits. But did you know it's also the #1 ranked private K-12 school in Beaufort County and ranks in the top 2.5% of schools nationwide? Visit hhprep.org to see what Hilton Head Prep has to offer. Beaufort Academy is a sustaining sponsor of Lowco Sports, and we love covering the Eagles. With a student-to-faculty ratio of 7-1 and an average class size of 14 students, Beaufort Academy could be just the educational solution you're looking for, with more one-on-one attention. BA has a strong history of working with the whole child to prepare each student for college and life. Check them out at BeaufortAcademy.org. Thank you to all of our sustaining and supporting sponsors for their support of LowcoSports.com. Go Lowco!
All right, thank you so much to our sponsors for supporting all our podcasts here at Lowco Sports. We could not do it without you. And let's get right back into it here as we get into our players to watch here for this 2023 season. Made a list of a few that we're going to highlight, but once again, this area is chock full of high school soccer talent, and I am certain that we have missed at least one or two, three, or maybe even more, uh, definitely even more players that deserve a spotlight like this, and we're gonna have all season to find a way to spotlight more of them and give those players their due because we've got a ton of stars on the local soccer field, and we'll recognize a few right now. Tell me about some of your players to watch as you get ready to go into the meat of this 2023 season.
Yeah, so we're going to start with the girls first, and the name that sticks out so far early this season is Sophia Felix from Battery Creek. She is on a scoring spree so far early this season, and I can't see that stopping when they go into region play. So she's definitely a player to watch. If they keep that up, they might surprise some teams in 3A over there on the girls' side. And Sophia's scoring obviously makes life easier for them. So to have somebody that you can guarantee can score at that level and at the pace that she's currently doing, I think she's on space to score like 300, 400 goals a season. I might be off exaggerating a little bit, but she's definitely having a great start to the season. And that's going to come in handy, especially when you have like Quinn Wilson in your region, right? Who is the other player that we're watching. Look, you guys see a transition there? That was very good. She has been phenomenal all 4 years. Her senior year, she is a Georgia Southern commit. That is not by mistake. That is because she deserves it. She is one of the top keepers in the state, in my opinion. She has been for years, and she's going to be a key factor for Buford to make a deep playoff run and even compete in that region in 3A. So keep an eye on her. Again, she was the star in that big upset against Hilton Head, and that's not going to be the only time that she's going to step in and give her teams wins when
Yeah,
they need it most.
I think it's going to be the first of many for Quinn Wilson when you have that dominant play and the ability to shut down the opposition. And you talk about the postseason when you have that goalkeeper you can rely on to make some amazing saves and keep the other team off the scoreboard. You're going to give your squad an opportunity to pull off an upset or two and even go deeper than that. So Quinn Wilson, I think this team will go as she goes, as
Mm-hmm.
she performs as a goalkeeper in that for Buford High. And Sophia Felix, I mean, I think it's absolutely so important to have someone who can routinely put the ball in the back of the net. And when you have a natural goal scorer like Felix who can do that time and time again, you're going to find ways to win some games in region play. So, going to be a great matchup, when we get Battery Creek and Buford playing each other and to see Felix and that Creek offense going up against that tremendous goalkeeping in Quinn Wilson. So, I cannot wait for that matchup. That's going to be a fun one to watch. But Sophia Felix already lighting up the scoreboard this year for the Battery Creek Dolphins and is on a heck of a pace, racking up those hat tricks already. It seems like every game she's putting a hat trick on the board. So we'll see if she keeps it up as we get into region play, but some strong girls' talent and a lot more to mention as the season goes on. But let's turn over to the boys' side now. Who are some boys' players that you got your eye on early on here in 2023?
Yeah, so far this season, I mean, one player that stands out for me, it's for Bluff to Ryan Orford, who is a senior this year. He tore his ACL a few years ago. He's kind of been on the recovery pace, but he looks to be close to back to what he was. A very special player, great kid. Had the pleasure of knowing him for years in the club side and working with him and coaching him a few years. And he's going to be a key factor in that Bluffton team to be able to kind of make continue building. What they did last year. Going to the playoffs. I think they're going to continue building. And so he's had a good start to the season. I think once he gets in full fitness from his recovery from his ACL tear, then I think he's going to be a key piece in that. Also, for River High School, Alonzo Pena, junior forward, he had 2 goals against Buford High School. Kind of coming into form as one of the forwards at River High School, and it could be a key piece in us as Sharks to be able to be competitive in region and make a deep playoff run. And like you said, there's going to be a lot of players. We just named a couple here to start. And I'll be honest, guys, coaches, if you have information, email me, email Wes, email lowcosports@gmail.com, but also put the information on Max Preps because that's what helps us. I coach. I can't go to every game. And Wes has other duties as well to do. And so if you want us to talk, shout out your players, send us information about your players. You can tweet me. You can send me a DM. It doesn't matter. We want to showcase every player in the Low Country that is deserving because we know there's a lot of talent. And I know after this week, when we start going into region play, we're going to have a lot more names because we're going to start seeing some players stand out when it comes to getting tough competition. So I'm looking forward to that as well.
It's going to get really busy, and it's definitely challenging to keep up with everything, but we would love to have some support. So hit us up on social media, tag us in your tweets. Of course, coach is so important to post as much stats as possible as we get further into region play. And fans, if you're at a game, turn your phone sideways and give us some footage. We'd love to use that for our last night in the Lowco show to put up our highlights and you know shine a light on our amazing student athletes who are performing on their stage on a nightly basis. So that's that's the mission of what we do here at Loco Sports is to honor to notify the Loco people and just to highlight all that they're doing and all the hard work they're putting in and excited to see what this season entails for Loco soccer, but also for all of our sports here in the Low Country. So definitely we'd love to support. We'd love to see as much information as we can and see those stats. So hopefully we'll get to see that info boost up as we move on here in the season. So really excited. Just as we mentioned, only a few names, but there are so many who are going to put on the show this season here on the soccer pitch. And one last thing here to do in episode one here, season two, and that's to look ahead. We, as you mentioned, we got a huge week in store of Loco soccer games. Just to name a few: James Island against Maryville Boys, Lucy Beckham taking out Bluffton. So a bunch of Region 740 matchups right out of the gate, and then we mentioned earlier on the show, but Beaufort High taking on Philip Simmons in a home and home. 2 games over the week, a huge litmus test for the Eagles, and just a pair of humongous region battles to see who's going to be at the top early on and kind of who's going to set the pace in that region. So I'm really looking forward to all these games on the boys' side and so many on the girls' side as well.
Yeah, no, James Island River Boys, there's a battle of two preseason top 10 teams in the region and the teams that finished 1 and 2 last year in Region 7-4A. And then you have Lucy Beckham and Bluffton on the boys and girls side. So it doesn't matter which sport you support, you need to go out and watch it because that's going to be an early test for region placing and region standings and as well. So it's going to be very key. And then, like we said, Philip Simmons and Beaufort, those are 2 top 10 teams in 3A. So this week you're going to have a couple of top 10 matchups in the Low Country you can visit Tuesday night. Come on to the Shark Tank if you want to catch the boards, or go to Bluffton High if you want to catch Beckham and Bluffton. Or just this week, make plans to go to Beaufort and see Philip Simmons and Beaufort High, a matchup of 2 top 10 teams. Like we said earlier, you want to try and win one out or win both because that could very well determine very early who is a front runner in that region in 3A. And we have some other great matchups this week as well in the Low Country. There's so much soccer to be played here, and there's so much time that you can go out and support. If you're just a fan of soccer in general, just come out and support. It's always good to see the support that we get from our fans, and not just fans from our respective schools, but also just fans in general from the Low Country. I always enjoy when I see players and fans from other teams come watch our games when the teams aren't playing, and vice versa. And it's just good quality content to have. So I think the Beaufort Philip Simmons match is going to be the favorite. James Island River as well on Tuesday. It's going to be very good. But it's just when you start region play, anything can happen. Anything can happen, and it's just fun to watch because those are the games that count for playoffs, and those are
Yep.
the games you want to win as a coach and a player for playoff standings.
That's where it matters. That's where all the hard work goes. Those few games that decide who makes the cut and who doesn't. And you mentioned around the gate and a couple others. You got Hilton High at Colleton County on the boys' side. We mentioned Lucy Beckham at Bluffton, but BA Patrick Henry, JP2 with Hilton at Christian Academy. That's going to be a nice
Mm-hmm.
skis on matchup there. And then St. Patrick's Day, Luck of the Irish. They're going to have a bunch of fantastic soccer games, especially in region because you got Bluffton, Hilton High, and then on the girls' side, of course, you got Hilton High at Bluffton. So I wish there was a way that you could teleport between both and see both at the same time. But man, they should both be fantastic games. Edisto, Wade Hampton. We can't really talk about Wade Hampton girls, but they're looking solid as well.
Yeah, I
And
think I think they're preseason top 10 as
yeah,
well. The Hampton
yeah,
girls as well. Yeah, definitely.
absolutely. Yeah, so Wade Hampton, this is it for them as before they become Hampton County. So last chance to make that final impression and to leave your mark. So great opportunity there for Wade Hampton. We saw some great stories from Ed Estel in the basketball and football seasons earlier on this year, and so we'll see what script they can write for soccer season. What a way potentially to go out by even win a state title. That would be a heck of a story if the Wade Hampton girls were able to do that in their last year before they become the Hampton County Hurricanes. But so much soccer action on tap. It's going to be a fantastic week. Just so many amazing matches across the board. And like we said, keep us updated. If you're in a game, keep us informed. Notify us on Twitter. Send us your highlights. Call us and give us your info, because we appreciate anything that we're able to get from you guys, and you guys are part of it too. I mean, you help us stay informed between all the, especially during spring season, because we have so much going on, and only a handful of people to go out and see them. So we definitely appreciate all the support we can get to keep us in the loop in a very busy high school spring sports season. So Misael Garzon, thanks for coming on back. I cannot wait. It's going to be a fantastic season 2 here of Lowco FC, and going to be a memorable season on the soccer pitch on both the boys and girls side. So that'll wrap up the first episode here in season 2 of Lowco FC. And we hope to see you again in about a week's time. We'll record another one, and hope to see you again listening here to what should be a fantastic show. We'll definitely have some more guests on in the future, some coaches, some players from across the Lowcountry and beyond. So once again, for Misael Garzon, this is Wes Kerr. Thanks for joining us, and until next time, go Lowco.
The Lowco FC podcast is a production of Lowco Media LLC and LowcoSports.com, providing grassroots local sports journalism in the South Carolina Lowcountry. To become a sponsor of this show and market your business or organization to our audience, send email to lowcosports@gmail.com. That's LOWCO sports@gmail.com. You can also support us on Patreon at patreon.com/LowcoSports. Your monthly pledge will help us continue to provide great grassroots local sports journalism. Go Lowco.